The Doctrine of Fascism, Benito Mussolini. Written by Benito Mussolini. Narrated by Geoffrey, Giuliano, and the Icon Players. It is better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep. I am the most terrible animal that's ever existed. We become strongest, I feel, when we have no friends upon whom to lean or to look for moral guidance. Mussolini. Benito Mussolini was born on July 29, 1883. He went by the nickname of El Duce, or the Boss. He was, in fact, a deeply unbalanced, tyrannical Italian dictator who created the dreaded Fascist Party in 1919. Eventually, he held all power in Italy as the country's prime minister from 1922 to 1943. An ardent socialist as a youth, Mussolini followed in his father's political footsteps, but was expelled by the party for his overt support of World War I. As an evil dictator during World War II, even murdering his own son by lethal injection for no particular reason, he greatly overextended his forces and was eventually killed by his own people in Italy. Here, for the first time, are the words of the great dictator himself, in his twisted manifesto on the political movement he started and is still so feared to this very day. I'm Geoffrey Giuliano.
Fundamental Ideas. 1. Philosophic Conception. Like every concrete political conception, fascism is thought and action. It is action with an inherent doctrine which, arising out of a given system of historic forces, is inserted in it and works on it from within. It has, therefore, a form correlated to the contingencies of time and place, but it has at the same time an ideal content which elevates it into a formula of truth in the higher region of the history of thought. There is no way of exercising a spiritual influence on the things of the world by means of a human willpower commanding the wills of others, without first having a clear conception of the particular and transient reality on which the willpower must act, and without also having a clear conception of the universal and permanent reality in which the particular and transient reality has had its life and being. To know men, we must have a knowledge of man, and to have a knowledge of man, we must know the reality of things and their laws. There can be no conception of a state which is not fundamentally a conception of life. It is a philosophy or intuition, a system of ideas which evolves itself into a system of logical contraction, or which concentrates itself in a vision or in a faith, but which is always, at least virtually, an organic conception of the world. 2. Spiritualized conception. Fascism would therefore not be understood in many of its manifestations, as for example in its organizations of the party, its system of education, its discipline, were it not considered in the light of its general view of life, a spiritualized view. To fascism, the world is not this material world which appears on the surface, in which man is an individual separated from all other men, standing by himself, and subject to a natural law which instinctively impels him to lead a life of momentary and egotistic pleasure. In fascism, man is an individual who is the nation and the country. He is this by a moral law, which embraces and binds together individuals and generations in an established tradition and mission. A moral law which suppresses the instinct to lead a life confined to a brief cycle of pleasure, in order instead to replace it within the orbit of duty in a superior conception of life, free from the limits of time and space, a life in which the individual by self-abnegation and by the sacrifice of his particular interest, even by death, realizes the entire spiritual existence in which his value as a man consists.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?